The twin moons of Novus Roma cast silver light across the imperial palace. The structure rose like a mountain of glass and steel above the planet's capital city. Inside the grand throne room, servants moved silently between marble columns that stretched toward a ceiling decorated with holographic star maps. The empire stretched across 47 star systems, and tonight, its future would be decided by something as simple as a cup of wine. Empress Livia Aurelius stood before her mirror, adjusting the golden circlet that marked her status. She was human, one of the few who had risen to such power in a galaxy dominated by older species. Her dark eyes held the weight of 10 years of political survival. She had fought wars, negotiated treaties, and built alliances that spanned light years. But her greatest enemy was not some alien warlord or rebellious general. Her greatest enemy slept 3 corridors away in equally luxurious chambers. Octavia Drusilla was also human, also beautiful, and also married to Emperor Marcus Aurelius VII. The ancient laws of Novus Roma permitted multiple imperial consorts, a tradition borrowed from the alien Carthani, who had first colonized this world centuries ago. But tradition also demanded that only one empress could rule when the emperor died. And Marcus was dying. The physicians had given him 3 months. A rare genetic condition was slowly shutting down his organs. Even the advanced medical technology of the empire could not save him. Soon, very soon, the Senate would need to choose which empress would become regent for the young prince. Livia's son was 12. Octavia's son was 14. Both had equal claim to succession. Livia closed her eyes and thought about everything she had sacrificed to reach this moment. She had left Earth when she was 17, one of thousands of human refugees fleeing a planet devastated by climate collapse. She had worked in the mines of Kepler Station. She had served drinks in the gambling halls of the outer colonies. She had learned 16 languages and studied the politics of 100 worlds. When she finally caught the attention of young Prince Marcus at a diplomatic reception, she had been ready. She had spent 15 years becoming the perfect empress. She would not lose everything to Octavia now. The crystalline vial felt cold in her palm. The poison inside was called stellar tear, a compound derived from a flower that grew only on the ice moons of the Andromeda sector. It was undetectable by standard medical scanners. It killed slowly, mimicking the symptoms of natural heart failure. The Carthani merchant who had sold it to her had assured her of its effectiveness. He had also taken payment in rare Earth artifacts worth more than most planetary colonies. Tonight was the Feast of Unification, celebrating the anniversary of humanity's acceptance into the Galactic Confederation. All nobles were required to attend. All grudges were supposed to be set aside. It was the perfect opportunity. Livia walked through corridors lined with guards in ceremonial armor. They were Zorath warriors, 8 feet tall with blue skin and 4 arms. The Empire employed thousands of them. They were loyal, efficient, and completely uninterested in human politics. They bowed as she passed, but their eyes remained fixed forward. The great hall was already filling with guests when she arrived. Holographic flowers bloomed in the air above the tables. Musicians from 7 different species played instruments that created harmonies impossible for human ears to fully appreciate. Senators in white robes discussed trade agreements. Military commanders in dress uniforms compared conquest stories. And at the high table, Emperor Marcus sat in his hovering throne, his pale face a mask of dignity despite the pain that Livia knew he felt constantly. Octavia was already seated beside him, her hand resting on his arm in a display of affection that made Livia's stomach turn. The younger empress wore blue silk that matched her eyes. Diamonds glittered in her blonde hair. She looked innocent and caring and completely devoted to her dying husband. It was an excellent performance. Livia took her place on the emperor's other side. She smiled at Marcus with genuine warmth. Despite everything, she did love him. He had given her a home when she had nothing. He had made her powerful when she had been powerless. She truly wished, that there was another way. But there was not. The feast began with speeches from various dignitaries. An ambassador from the Carthage hegemony praised the strength of human civilization. A general recounted victories against pirates in the outer territories. A scientist announced breakthroughs in faster-than-light travel that would open new sectors for colonization. Livia listened to none of it. Her attention was fixed on the serving staff, specifically on a young woman with red hair who carried a tray of wine glasses. The servant's name was Flora, and she had been in Livia's personal service for 3 years. She was completely loyal, completely discreet, and completely unaware of what she was about to do. The vial of stellar tear had been placed in a specific glass on her tray. The glass was marked with a tiny scratch on its base. Flora would serve that glass to Octavia without ever knowing its contents. The moment approached. Flora moved along the high table, offering drinks to each noble. She reached Emperor Marcus, who waved her away with a tired hand. She reached Livia, who accepted a glass with a gracious nod. She reached Octavia. Livia watched as her rival's fingers wrapped around the poisoned cup. Octavia raised it to her lips. She paused to laugh at something Marcus said. She brought the glass closer. Then she set it down without drinking. Livia felt her heart stop. She watched as Octavia leaned over to whisper something to a servant. The servant nodded and took the glass away, returning moments later with a fresh drink from a different tray. Octavia sipped the new wine and smiled. Had she known? Was it coincidence? Livia's mind raced through possibilities. Perhaps Octavia simply didn't like that particular vintage. Perhaps she had noticed something unusual about the color. Perhaps one of Livia's own servants had betrayed her. The feast continued around her, but Livia tasted nothing. She smiled at jokes she did not hear. She nodded at conversations she did not follow. Her carefully constructed plan had failed, and she had no backup. When the feast finally ended, Livia returned to her chambers in a daze. She dismissed her servants and sat alone in the darkness, staring at the stars beyond her window. 47 systems awaited the outcome of this struggle. Billions of lives would be affected by which Empress took power. And she had failed. A soft chime announced a visitor at her door. Livia composed herself and opened it. Octavia stood in the corridor, alone, without guards or servants. Her blue silk dress was slightly wrinkled from the long evening. Her smile was cold and knowing. Livia's hand moved toward the knife hidden beneath her robes. Octavia held up a small crystalline vial, identical to the one Livia had used. It was empty. "I switched the glasses," Octavia said quietly. Her voice carried no anger, only a strange sort of weariness. "My servant saw your servant mark the cup. I'd known about your plan for 3 days." Livia's fingers tightened on the knife handle. If she was fast enough, she might still survive this. Octavia was smaller, weaker, and alone. Octavia seemed to read her thoughts. She shook her head slowly. "I'm not here to expose you. I'm not here to fight you. I'm here because I'm tired." "Tired of what?" Livia asked carefully. "Tired of this game we've been playing for 10 years. Tired of pretending to hate each other. Tired of watching Marcus suffer while we circle each other like predators waiting to strike." Octavia stepped into the room without invitation. She moved to the window and looked out at the twin moons. "I poisoned your wine tonight." Livia's blood went cold. "You drank from a cup that contained enough stellar tear to kill 6 men," Octavia continued. "By my calculations, you should start feeling the effects within the hour. Heart palpitations first, then difficulty breathing, then unconsciousness. Death follows within 12 hours. Livia felt her legs weaken. She grabbed the edge of a table to steady herself. This was it then. After everything, after all her planning and sacrifices, she would die in her own bedroom, poisoned by the same compound she had tried to use. Octavia turned to face her. "Unless you drink this." She held out a second vial, this one filled with pale golden liquid. "The antidote exists," Octavia explained. It's rare and incredibly expensive, but it exists. I have exactly 1 dose. I could save your life, or I could watch you die. The choice isn't mine to make." Livia stared at her rival. Her mind, usually so sharp, struggled to understand what was happening. "Why would you save me? Why not just let the poison do its work?" "Because I don't want the throne," Octavia said simply. "I never wanted it. I was sold to Marcus by my family when I was 15 years old. I didn't choose this life. I didn't choose to be your enemy. I've spent 10 years playing a role that I despise." Livia laughed bitterly. "You expect me to believe that? You fought me at every turn. You've undermined my alliances, spread rumors about my son, tried to turn Marcus against me. Because you did the same to me," Octavia replied. "We've been trapped in a cycle of retaliation that neither of us started. But I'm offering to end it tonight. How? Take the antidote. Take the throne. Let me take my son and leave. Give me a ship and enough resources to start a new life somewhere far from Novus Rama." Octavia's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I don't want power. I want peace. I want to watch my son grow up without fear. I want to wake up one morning without wondering if my food has been poisoned." Livia studied her rival's face, searching for deception. She found only exhaustion and desperate hope. "Why should I trust you? The antidote could be poison itself." Octavia nodded slowly. "You're right. It could be. But consider this. If I wanted you dead, you would already be dying, and I would be safely in my chambers with witnesses to prove I never came here. I gain nothing by watching you suffer. I gain everything by making a deal." The logic was sound. Livia's mind began to function again, calculating probabilities and outcomes. If Octavia was telling the truth, this was an opportunity beyond anything she had imagined. Her rival would eliminate herself from the succession. The throne would be uncontested. "Swear it," Livia said. "Swear on your son's life that you will leave and never return." Octavia did not hesitate. "I swear on my son's life, on his future, on everything I love, that I will leave Novus Rama forever if you grant me safe passage." Livia took the vial. The golden liquid shimmered in the moonlight. She brought it to her lips and drank. The effect was immediate. Warmth spread through her body, counteracting a cold she hadn't even noticed building. Her heartbeat steadied. Her vision cleared. Octavia nodded once, satisfied. "My servants will pack our belongings tonight. We'll be gone before dawn." She turned to leave. At the doorway, she paused. "You'll be a good Empress, Livia. Better than I ever could have been. You actually want this." Octavia smiled sadly. "That's the difference between us. You were willing to kill for power. I was only willing to kill for freedom." Then she was gone, leaving Livia alone with the twin moons and 47 star systems waiting for their new ruler. The human capacity for survival had built empires across the stars. But sometimes, Livia realized, the greatest victories came not from destroying enemies, but from understanding them. She had sought to eliminate a rival through murder. Instead, she had gained an empire through mercy. Outside her window, a ship rose from the palace landing platforms, carrying Octavia and her son toward the distant stars. Livia watched until it disappeared into the darkness. Then she began preparing for her coronation,